This is what to expect when you're expecting. Freud's psychosexual theory. So from around 1900 to 1905, a psychologist named Sigmund Freud developed a nature and nurture-based theory that a person's personality is all based on stages of libido, which is their sexual desires throughout their life, especially their childhood. So before we get into the stages he thought of, it's important to know about a metaphor he made. This metaphor is about an iceberg and how it relates to a person's mind. Basically, a large part of an iceberg is underwater, which is unseen by someone who is above the surface of the water. Freud explained that in someone's mind, this is their unconsciousness. This is where most of their thoughts are and where he or she can detect them. The conscious mind is the small part of the iceberg that is seen above the water. In someone's mind, this is where the thought process that they knowingly think of is located. This whole metaphor is summarizing that most of people's thoughts are located in their unconscious mind and undetected, like how the bottom part of an iceberg is unseen under the water, while the top part of the iceberg, or conscious mind, is detected and seen. Now with this iceberg, Freud went a step further. He said that there were three parts of one's mind. There was the id, ego, and superego. He said that people are born with the id because it seeks pleasure for someone based on natural instincts. So if a baby is hungry, he or she will cry out to get their parents to feed them. The id has no consideration of restrictions such as morals or the need of others. It's based on primal instincts. However, at around 3 years old, the ego will start to develop. The ego regulates what the id makes a person do by viewing situations as having long-term effects as well as considering things such as other people's feelings and desires. After a couple more years, near the end of the phallic stage, the influences of morality and ethical views a child has grown up around starts to develop the superego. The superego is considered by most people to be the most conscious part of their mind, or the tip of the iceberg according to Freud's metaphor, since it chooses right from wrong. However, it is the ego that is ideal to control most of one's mind, since it can juggle primal instincts of the pleasure-seeking id, as well as the rigidity of the superego's views of what's good and right and what's bad and wrong. Freud used this metaphor to help him explain his psychosexual theory. He claimed that while a lot of sexual desires he talked about are actually in the unconscious part of one's mind throughout their life, sometimes, he mentioned, people actually push back some bad experiences from one stage in their life so that it can even sometimes be erased from their memories. And just like how the id, ego, and superego develop as a child grows up, the stages of libido in Freud's psychosexual theory come during certain ages and serve certain purposes.
There are 5 main stages of a person's development. The first stage is the oral phase, which is concentrated on the area of the mouth. This occurs from when the child is born to 18 months of age. During this time, if they do not receive proper nourishment through their mouth, such as not being breastfed enough, they have a high probability of having oral fixations, such as smoking, as an adult. The person would also be prone to dependency and aggression.
The next stage is the anal phase, which is concentrated in a person's anus. This is from 1 to 2 years old. This develops when a child is being toilet trained and therefore learning to control their bodily fluid functions. If the child has too lax of training during that stage, then as they grow up, they will try to compensate for that messiness with too much obsessiveness over things such as being tidy. On the other hand, if there is too much emphasis on potty training, the child could grow up with the same obsessiveness they were taught.
The third stage is the phallic phase, which is focused on the genitals. When the child is 2 to 5 years old, this develops from the relationship with their family. The child becomes attached to the parent of the opposite sex and starts to resent the parent of the same sex because, in the child's mind, he or she is competition. For example, a boy would start to get closer to his mother while also starting to view the father as competition for the same mate, or the mother. When this happens with the boy, it is called the Oedipus effect, while when the girl has the reverse situation, resenting the mother getting closer to the father, it is called the Electra effect. If this develops as a child, the adult will struggle with vanity, self-obsession, inferiority, and sexual anxiety. The latency phase, which occurs from the ages of around 6 to 12 years old, is the fourth stage. In this time, the sexual feelings of the child are dormant. During the phase, kids prefer to hang out with the others of the same sex instead of those from the opposite sex. There aren't many adult fixations that come from this stage since the sexual stimulation is low. The fifth and final stage is the genital phase. Just like the phallic stage, this stage focuses on the genitals. It occurs from when puberty starts to death. Especially during adulthood, the person shows the full effects of his or her previous stages. This is when, but not always, a lot of the fixations that come from issues with the oral phase are shown, such as the aforementioned smoking, as well as other fixations from other stages, such as the tidiness from the anal phase. However, if the person got raised with the stimulation they needed from the previous stages, then he or she will grow up stable, typically developing healthy relationships with other people.
Freud's theories are both nature and nurture. He believed that we are born with this sexual desire, also known as libido, which is the nature part. While this develops over time, it is affected by how we grow up and our environment around us, that being nurture. Freud's stages-based way of interpreting the human's process of maturing has been considered since his time because of his original ideas on how people's pasts affect their future.
This production was created by Lydia Rasher and Madeline Wass, with special contributions from Helen Huang and viewers like you.
Thank you.